Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play Painting Live. I'm going to stream a little bit of painting, but I'll be honest with you, I'm really not feeling well, so I'm not sure exactly how long we're going to go. But anyways, let me get the comment section open, and then we'll kind of take it from there. I don't think I didn't really blast this particular live stream, so I don't think anyone's going to tune in. But anyways, I'll have the comment section open. But like I said, I'm really not feeling well, so we'll see how this goes. I might have to just suddenly shut this off if it's really not getting any better for me. But actually, so right now I'm working on getting the detailed colors in for the Castellan, and I'm using the same technique I did with the white, except the only difference is I'm using different colors now. So I used so for the gold, which is 2/3 of the way done. I used heavy gold brown, made a glaze out of that, and then I followed up with a glaze of like what's it called? A glaze of heavy sienna, which I really kind of used almost like you would a wash or a shade to get into the deeper areas of the model. So now I'm working on a glaze of medium blue. And the reason why I wanted to record this part is because I wanted to show you how applying the glaze in a thin manner and multiple layers of it will really give you good control of how you're shading the model. Okay, so you normally, when you're doing this, you're gonna pick the mid-tone, the mid-tone or the base color of whatever object it is you're painting. In this case, it's the blue bits of armor. And then you're going to shade that, and then you'll eventually come back and highlight it. But right now, the main bits are to go ahead and shade it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to paint in just some areas that should be blue. And then we can talk about how exactly this works. So I'm going to actually paint this. I'm going to paint the band across the head here, so you can see it. As you can see, the band across the head has very subtle white highlights to it. And then I'm just going to take my glaze and just run a real thin amount of it over. Okay. And you can see what's happening is the glaze is so thin that it's settling in on the deeper parts of this piece while leaving the most raised parts light, right? So see that? So that's how thin you go, and then you just build it up with a couple of layers, and you just keep working until you have the right medium tone on there. It usually only takes 2 to 3 layers to get that the color you want, or sometimes you want it just like that, because you can go back. The next step after this is to come and start to shade the blue. You can see I'm kind of working the blue in different areas of the model here. I'm going to use it here across this band as well. But that's the general idea. Once you have a zenithal highlight down, and you've done and you kind of understand how you want glazes to sit on the model, it becomes a lot simpler, and you really get good control of how you want the colors to lay, how you how you want the colors to lay, and then also any the way you want to shade the model as well. Okay, so let me just go ahead and continue to put the blue in on this model. But it's really, that's probably one of the things that takes a lot of getting used to, is this idea that you're painting super thin. Right, so I'm going to put it here on this shoulder blade. You can see how the glaze just kind of naturally wants to settle into the lower areas, and you kind of get like this naturally shaded and highlighted tone, right? You get this naturally deep coloration, right? It's almost like just painting with washes. And I think I want to do, I think I'm going to do this model is going to have a lot more blue accents to it than the previous Castellan that I painted, but it's still going to have lots of white. Now if you're working a little bit faster, the next step would be, instead of taking another glaze, a darker glaze, all you would really have to do is take like a Citadel wash. Like in this case, you could take that blue nightshade, or whatever it's called, Drakenhof nightshade from Citadel, and shade this. And as long as you thin that correctly, you get very similar result. But we're going for I like the glaze because your control is so much better, and you can really shade it into the colors that you want. Starting to look a lot more like a Gundam though. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a really long week. I've been working pretty hard, so I guess I'm fighting off a little bit of exhaustion. Good news is we did hit our original goal, so that opens up the vault. I posted a little bit of info on that on Play It Painted site. And, we're going to try to make it to 500 for the end of the year. And if we make it to 500 before the end of the year, guess what? This is going to be raffled off to one of you lucky folks. And I'm going to have to figure out how to pack it, because that's going to be the tricky part. Something like this is, how do you pack it? Alright, so I'm going to do the detail around the shield. Sorry, I got nothing in the frame here. You see how like crazy light that is? Yeah, we'll fix that. But yeah, that's a general idea. I'm just going to go around and do that to the whole model. All right. So you can see that coming together. And again, because it's so thin, you don't want to let it run, and you don't really want to let it pool too much either. Just concentrate on getting a thin, even coat on. Okay. It's looking pretty good. Oops. So the other thing I can do while this is drying, because you really want these glazes to dry fully before you hit them with the next layer. The other thing I can do is I can reinforce my gold with a little more of that that red tone I used. And get a little more shadow. Whoa. Sorry, I'm not very talkative tonight. Just trying to keep it together here. I'm really going to go to bed early tonight because I have a really crazy day at work tomorrow, and then I have to prepare for extra life. So but here it is. I wanted to show you guys this process because this is really where the magic of this particular technique kicks in. The magic. Try to make it sound really hype, but it's not. It's pretty straightforward stuff. But see, for example, let me show you here. So see that banding on the shoulder here? I can take this glaze and kind of build it up towards the bottom. And just make that shadow stand out a little bit more. Same with the antennae here. You know, I want to concentrate the darker color on the bottom of it. So I can take the glaze and really just kind of focus it that way. Similarly here on the shield. Let me do actually do a couple of things first. All right. So let me do this on the shield too. See, that's a little too heavy. So I'm just going to pull some of it off on the towards the top. And then, because the brush is wet and the glaze is wet, you can kind of feather it in a little. You know what I mean? You're kind of blending the areas. See that? So you're kind of blending those areas in. Okay. But I don't know. I mean, there's not much at this point. That's all. It starts to feel a little more straightforward now, right? Because you can shade this as deep as you like. Right? I need a little more. I'm going to do a little more, another layer of this medium blue on the shield here. See that? And you just build the color to your liking. I'm going to actually drop a little shadow in it soon, but that's what we're going for. Okay. See that? You can see it right there. It looks that looks pretty good now. So I'm just going to give it another quick layer of blue here. And then we're ready for then we let that dry, and then we're ready for the next color in the blue. Because I'm going to take this a little bit darker. That's the general idea though, right? Put your base color down, then come in, put a shade color in, or two, depending on how stark you want your shadows. Some people go for super cartoony, super dramatic lighting on their models, in which case you want to stretch your range, you want your top highlight to be white. You want your bottom highlight to be almost, your bottom shade to be almost black, right? Just doing the rest of the red brown. This my hand, my brush control isn't doing so well right now. It's because of my, got like the jitters because I'm rocking a pretty strong headache and I feel slightly nauseated. I'm also on quarantine from my two kids. It makes me super sad. I have to laugh because, yeah, it sucks, man, when you're not feeling well. You're like, I'm not gonna, I don't want to get my wife and my two kids sick. That wouldn't be cool. But you miss them, like you get, you hear their voice upstairs, and you're like, oh, I wish I was up there. I think they're about to go to bed, though. What do you think? Looking pretty good? Ooh. Man. Yeah, lesson learned. Don't don't paint too much. Don't paint too much detail when you're sick. Stick to base coats and blends. All right. Yeah. Okay. And so yeah, I could hit it with Drakenhof Nightshade to shade it, to shade the blue, but I'd rather use a custom glaze so I can really pick the tone that I want, and like I said before, gives you a little bit better control over everything when you're using a true glaze. See that? So really, and let me show you using that part of the shield that I focused in on last time. Okay, so once again, here's that contoured part of the shield. You can see how the glaze kind of sits, how it kind of wants to sit in the darker shadow, in the deeper parts of the model. And I'm just gonna add a little more color right there. And you can see how, like towards the edges, where your normal highlights are gonna be, those are, it's lighter around those areas. So the idea is, starting with that zenithal prime, you take your glazes and you take a mid-tone of that glaze and you build up the color to where you want it to be, to where you want that mid-tone color to be, which is where it is for me right now. And then you're going to take a darker blue, and let's see if I can find a darker blue. I'm thinking like really intense, either deep blue or like I could go like intense blue, but I may be going even. I may go with dark Prussian blue because I love that color. If I can find it. Here you go. So I can make a glaze out of dark Prussian blue, right? That's super deep. And just do one or maybe two coats. It really depends. It's up to your personal preference, how much shadow you want to throw on the model. And then what you do is you're actually going to come all the way back to like something really light, like pale gray blue, and just edge highlight, right? And if you do that, if you just edge highlight, and you can keep that line sharp, and you can keep it, from without just right along the edge, it's really going to exaggerate that whole piece. I mean, it's really going to bring interest to it. And you do the same. It's the same process for the gold and for the blue. So yeah, that's the idea, though. I mean, and that's the method that I've been using lately, is that method, and it's a little more involved than your standard, base coat, wash and highlight, but it's the same. It's almost the same thing. You're just being you're being a little more precise with how you're mixing the paint. What you're thinning it with, in this case, is going to help a lot. Um, and then that final highlight is really just an edge highlight, and it can be, you're jumping all the way back, right? So anyways, that's the process. That's the process. And the other thing is, on a model like this, you can actually take white as the edge highlight, and edge highlight all of the model with white. And if the white's soft enough, if the white is, if you're using a glaze and you go thin enough on the white, you can build it to as sharp or striking as you like, or you can leave it softer, you know. And so anyways, that's what we're looking at. There's you know, the parts left to do on this model are just little, or is just that intricacy, just the model, the colors of the model have been blocked off. Still need some shadow on the blue, and then it's just a matter of highlighting the entirety of the model, line highlighting the entirety of the model. And I'm just talking the sharpest edges of the models. You know, anytime you have hard corners, hard edges, that's what you're gonna hit. So anyway, yeah, I am not feeling well, you guys. But so I gotta get some rest. I gotta get some rest so I can feel better, be ready for Saturday. I have a really long day tomorrow, an extra long day tomorrow. Got to do a lot of talking, which sucks. But yeah, it's coming along. It's looking pretty good. I like the three color way I'm going, as opposed. I like that better than the studio art, because the studio art is really, if you look here, it's, well, I mean, there is blue. There actually there's blue on the studio art, but it's really just like it's just here on the on that I don't even know what to call that, the like the rune, the etchings, I guess the etchings of the model are blue. But if you look at the main, the true secondary, it's white, and the true secondary color is gold. And I kind of, for me, for my version, it's more a balance between the gold and the blue. So I wonder if I have time just to show you, is anything dry enough for me to shade. No. Oh, I do have to. I'm going to put a little more color back here. So, just to touch on Extra Life a little bit, I did find a bunch of cool stuff. I opened the vault today, and I did find a bunch of cool stuff. So, I'm excited to get those raffles underway. So, get your pocketbooks ready, because hopefully that should be pretty fun. All right. Let's see. Is there any other place I want blue to be on this model? I mean, I could do blue shoes, but like the very bottoms of the shoe blue, but I don't know. But we're almost dry enough to show you the shade. So let me really quickly reiterate what we're gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna take this dark Prussian blue, and we're gonna make a glaze out of it, because that's all we've been doing. Actually, that's all. If we break down how I painted this Castellan, all I ever did during the entire process was I did zenithal highlighting with the airbrush, and then the rest of it has just been glazes. I have yet to do like a standard base coat on anything. And I like painting with glazes too, because that's, you know, it's just so much better control. Okay, so I'm going to do this dark Prussian blue, and I want this to actually be ever so slightly thinner than the standard blue. You want your darker colors to be thinner, because they're going to act way more like a shade or a wash. So lots of glaze medium. I think this is like 7 or 8 drops of glaze medium, 2 drops of actual paint, and a drop or 2 of thinner medium. Okay, I'm a little worried about going in this early, but I want to show you a little bit of how this is going to work, right? What's the driest parts? Maybe the head here, right? Let's see. There we go. So I'm just going to take that, just kind of blend that shadow in right there. Okay, see that? All right. Let me see if let me do a bigger piece so you guys can see. So this band here, I'm just gonna paint in a dark stripe there towards the bottom, right? And then on the lance, whoa. Okay, see that detail on the lance? And then also on the, we'll call it a gem. It's not really a gem. Gem there on the hand. All right, we're gonna put a little lighting there. So but this is kind of fun. I don't typically like edging on models. Part of the reason why I love and hate like privateer press models is because there's, with the exception of probably Ret, which is my favorite faction of paint, it's a lot of edging. It's a lot of tedium, detail work. And I can really appreciate when painters do that and they do it really well. It's just not something I do really well. Okay, so once again, I'm going to show you, see that shoulder blade? Let's see if I can get see that shoulder blade right there? I'm going to try to paint this on camera so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking in that darker color and running it in there, right? And I'm going to clean up the excess. And I'm trying to focus the color, that shadow, into the deeper recesses. Okay. And this is just a really cool way to get all that detail on your model to pop. Okay, you can see on the back there. Oh, you can't because I got a backpack thing in the way. All right, and then let me show you on the let me know if you have any questions on this. But yeah, this is why like this model is super fun to paint. Because once you get to this stage, everything you do is making the model look cooler. So, and I think that's where people really start to enjoy painting, is when you're when you're doing stuff and you're seeing a really strong direct result from what you're doing, then you start to feel more confident about your painting, and you'll want to paint more because you'll remember, okay, all I have to do is get past some of these basic beginning parts, and then I'm going to get to the part that I really like. So you get past the prep, the cleaning, the building. Well, although I know a lot of guys that really just like building. I need to partner up with those guys because those guys love to build and convert, and they'll clean every square inch of a model. They'll make sure there isn't a mold line anywhere to be seen. I'm not very good at that's not my strong point. You know, my strong point is give me areas to blend, give me areas to where I can play around with lighting a little bit and create some striking interest points. Like I do that, but cleaning, building, prepping models, that's not something I'm very good at. Okay. So if I'm doing this right, then a lot of this model is going to look like it's kind of shading and highlighting itself. And it looks like I spent a little more time on it than admittedly I am. That blue's starting to get a lot more intense now, which is fantastic. Okay. And finally, let me hit the shield so you guys can see what this actually does. Oh, huge mistake right there. Wow. Touched the brush to the model, was not paying attention. So I'm going to have to clean up a big area of the shield here. That's okay. Luckily it's a glaze. Like if that was regular thin paint with water, I'd have to repaint the shield. And I'd be pretty upset about that right now. Anyway, let's see if I can do this on camera without ruining my model. All right, and then finally, that part that we were staring at before. Let's put the shadow in. All right. See that? There. Let me do the rest of the shield real quick. Then all the blue has been properly shaded. And you could even, if you're really building depth, like go even darker. Do another layer of this dark Prussian blue, but the next time just take it further into the crevices. So break out a more detailed brush and paint further into the crevices. All right, let me back up and show this. So now you're starting to see, right, how those glazes are interacting, right? You can see, oh shoot. You can see right there, dark, dark, and then light right around the edges. So at this point, we're going to let this totally dry, and then we're going to come back and hit the edge, the final white highlight on it. I still have some blue to do. Hold on. Yeah. So yes, the glazes are going to take longer to dry. I think it's going to be worth it though, because this is going to look awesome. The other thing I could do is I could take a pen, or I could actually, hand paint in all the crevices. Whoop, that was bad. Make sure everyone's okay. Everyone's okay. I lost some motor skills tonight while I'm sick. But yeah, let's take some white. Just do a couple dots. It's like way too big of a dot. It doesn't look very good. All right. Right? It's almost, that stripe on the head is almost ready. And I'm going to switch brushes, in fact, so that I can do a proper edge highlight. But I'm actually going to finish most of this, the rest of this model on Saturday. I just want to show you what that edge highlight looks like, okay? So So you know what I'm doing, right? I'm mixing up a white glaze and I'm going to essentially just grab, I'm just going to grab the model and paint in that white stripe right there. See if I can get it to focus. Having a hard time. Focus. Let's see. Is that, if I did that? No, it doesn't really. Okay, but you can see it there. Like you can kind of see the lighter part of it. So now I'm gonna grab my white glaze. I'm gonna do this white highlight over the bits of the face, just so you can see how it all really kind of highlights. Right? So you can use the white on the, you can use the white highlight on both the blue and the gold. Okay? Whoa, I had it there. Man, I had it for a second. I just, how come I can't? Come on, you. There we go. Look at that. See it? Now you can see it. Now you can see the white there, and you can see the white along that crest that he's got. Let me do a couple more areas to show you. And again, you're only going to pick the sharpest edges. Only going to pick the hardest edges of the model. Because if you do too much of this, it's going to kill your effect. Okay? So only do the hardest edges of the model. Sorry, I'm like way off frame right now. It's like impossible to get this amount of detail on a model that big without pulling it from underneath the camera. So I apologize. So I think what I'm going to do is, if we do hit the 500 mark, I'm going to offer the winner to decide whether or not they want this painted and assembled version of a Castellan, or if they just want a Castellan. You know, if they just want a an unassembled one. Because you know, if it's a hobbyist watching the channel, they're going to want to do their own Castellan. I know I would. Then put a little bit of interest on the crest. Okay. Yeah, you can see it there. See that edge highlight on the corner there? That one's a little harsh. Again, you can, it's a glaze, so you can always fix it. Just take a brush, wet it, kind of feather it out. So a little more, that white just gives it a little, just ever so much more interest. But there, I mean, you can see what I'm doing now, right? I hope. Let me know in the comments if you don't understand what I'm doing. Because unfortunately, this is a great technique to show somebody. It's not a very good technique to show on camera. Well, I could have shown this technique on camera if I had a smaller miniature. But I want to paint a smaller miniature. I want to paint my damn Castellan. Okay. Here we go. I'm starting to like my buddy here. Starting to look pretty cool. So okay. Anyway, that's so that's what we're looking at, right? He's coming along pretty well. Again, like if you look here, see how that's too light right in here? Let's fix that. Just take your dark Prussian blue and paint right in there. See? There, we just fixed it. Super easy. Once you understand the consistency of your glaze and where to put it, the rest of it's pretty easy. Okay, so let me do a little bit on the hand, because like on the knuckles, it's a good place to put your highlight. Again, all we're doing is like the very slightest edge highlight. In fact, that didn't really even do anything. So, all right. So, anyways, that's kind of enough painting for one night. I'm gonna try to get some rest because again, I have to rally for tomorrow. Got a big day at work, and I got to prepare for Extra Life. Okay, but you guys can see like that's the Castellan. I mean, you're looking at the model about 85 to 90% done. And man, I just have so much fun painting this. It's just awesome. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you guys haven't done so already, please jump into my Extra Life campaign. I promise you it will be worth it. Okay? It'll be fun. And you guys are doing a good thing for kids, so please don't make me e-beg anymore. Let's just enjoy the time. Anyways, want to thank everybody for watching. Have a good night, guys.